Convert your thinking with a free upgrade to the IQ8 microinverter, the world's only microinverter that provides instant energy backup during a power outage from Semper Solaris, your local veteran-owned solar and battery storage contractor. Here's veteran, founder and owner, Kelly Shawhan.
In the military, when you give your word, it's just as your word. Work hard and keep your word. That's what we do every single day. Heard about Semper Solaris and found out that they were veterans. I knew they were going to do the job right.
Add Tesla Powerwall and be ready for blackouts. We get the job done with esprit de corps and honor. Silver Solaris offers new heating and air conditioning systems with a lifetime warranty and new roofs with a 50-year warranty. Go solar American style with Silver Solaris. 0 down, 0 interest, and 0 payments until 2023. Get the federal 26% solar and battery tax credit. Call 877-211-5591. That's 877-211-5591. Or visit SemperSolaris.com. 26% federal tax credit based on eligibility. Consult your tax advisor. Cannot be combined with any other offers. Some restrictions apply. New customers only. Call or see website for details. Expense 11/30/2021. CSW number 978-152. I suggest you take a hard look at the interest rates you're paying on your credit cards, car loans, or anything else. With today's low mortgage rates and rising home values, why not refinance with Owning? Pull some cash out of your home and take control of high-interest debt. Call Owning at 833-2-OWNING or log on to owning.com. In minutes at no cost or obligation, our experienced agents can tell you how much money you have sitting in your house. Then refinance at today's 30-year fixed 2.5% rate, 2.731 APR. And use some of that low-interest money to pay off debt, do things around the house, or anything you want. Your house may be your piggy bank.
NMLS 2611, licensed by the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation and the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act. Subject to credit approval for qualified borrowers. Call 833-303-2161 for terms and conditions. Equal housing lender.
Call Owning at 833-2-OWNING or log on to owning.com. That's 833-2-OWNING or go to owning.com.
Don't miss our iHeartRadio Holiday Special with exclusive performances from Kelly Clarkson, Michael Bublé, Train, and Pentatonic. Wednesday the 24th, starting at 7 p.m. on iHeartRadio's Facebook and YouTube channel. Plus, check out the exclusive VR performance in the Videos app on the Oculus Quest.
New holiday gifts are arriving at a TJ Maxx, Marshalls, and Home Goods store near you for way less than you expect. Endless selection, great prices, all season long. Shop TJ Maxx, Marshalls, and Home Goods today.
Portions of the following program will be recorded.
I hate retail.
You know, my philosophy is if you can't get it free or wholesale, you just don't need it. There's my philosophy in life. I want to tell you, it's either on sale or wholesale or you just don't need the product.
Bill Handel, mornings from 6 to 10 on KFI.
I literally am thunderstruck here. I am, and this is not easy for me to admit, I'm at a loss for words.
Bill Handel, mornings from 6 to 10 on KFI.
I know the weight of the world seems to rest on your shoulders, and sometimes life seems like it's filled only with confusion and chaos. But I assure you, I have a plan.
The Jesus Christ Show, this morning at 6 on KFI, AM 640.
More stimulating talk.
This is KFI AM 640, heard everywhere in the iHeartRadio app. I'm also American, and listening to the Daily Drive Weekend Edition. Finally, for this week, do you ever wonder why you might not feel like you fit into a particular political party? Americans are divided for sure, but it goes beyond a left or right thing, a Republican or Democrat thing. Even within each party, there are deep divides. Pew Research sorted out American ideologies into 9 distinct categories: 4 that lean left, 4 that lean right, and the fourth sideline is in the middle. And for those that do fit somewhat into the center, they often hold little common background. For more on this wide spectrum of political beliefs, we'll speak to Baxter Oliphant, senior researcher at the Pew Research Center.
What we did is we conducted a survey with a little bit more than 10,000 Americans over the summer is when we did most of this. And then we ran some statistics on it, and as you mentioned, we identified these 9 groups. We found 4 that are oriented toward the Republican Party. That means more of the people in those groups say they're either Republicans or lean towards the Republican Party. And we found 4 groups that are oriented towards the Democrats. And we have 1 where it's about evenly split between Republicans and Democrats.
So it does seem that the majority of people do kind of identify with the 2 major parties, but with some slim room in the middle for certain people.
Polarization between Republicans and Democrats is still in what we found. There's really big gaps between these groups. But the approach that we took in not just restricting it to the two parties allowed us to see that there are some differences even within the parties. So there's, for example, these four groups that say they're Republicans, but when we ask a lot of questions about their views about politics, their values that they bring to politics, then we can dive into that and we will see there are things they agree about that unite them as Republicans, but there's still things that they disagree about. So, for example, we found one of our Republican groups, which we called the Populist Rights, that is much more skeptical about the economy and its fairness than other Republicans. The Populist Right, they're much more likely to support raising taxes than the rest of the party. They're much more likely to say that the profits corporations earn are not fair, which aren't the attitudes that might typically be associated with people who call themselves Republicans.
These are also people with a less formal education and most likely to live in rural areas as well.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting one because you would kind of say that out. Those tend to be, it looks like they would be probably supporters of former President Donald Trump, but they're also more willing to raise taxes, which is kind of a weird classification for them, I guess.
The Populist Right, they're some of the strongest supporters of former President Trump. But we find another group with different attitudes about taxes and the economy that are also very strong supporters of the former president. And this is our Faith and Flag conservatives group. And these two groups, the Faith and Flag conservatives and the Populist Right, they both make up about a quarter of the people we surveyed who call themselves Republicans. So they're a big chunk of the party. They both support Trump, but they have different attitudes, where the Populist Right group had, a little skeptical about the economy. The Faith and Flag conservatives, they're the folks who really are active in their faith compared to a lot of other groups. They want to see the government support religious values. They see religion as very important to the country. They're also the most likely group to say that the U.S. is the best country in the world. So they're very patriotic and very religious, and also a key part of the Republican Party.
In this Republican-leaning group, we also have the committed conservatives. These are probably what you would call more of your traditional conservative, it seems like, pro-business, limited government. A lot of them are less enthusiastic about President Trump and big fans of Ronald Reagan. And then we have those that are called the ambivalent right, which are an interesting group. These are the youngest of the right-leaning groups.
Yeah, this ambivalent right group is very interesting. They're the only Republican-oriented group where the majority don't call themselves conservatives. Many of them do call themselves conservatives, but the biggest group within this ambivalent right call themselves moderate. They see themselves as moderate. They're the most diverse Republican-oriented group. About 65% of them are non-Hispanic white, where in the other Republican-oriented group it's 80% or more that are white. And this ambivalent right group is particularly interesting because what seems to unite them to the Republican Party is they are conservative on many economic issues and issues with the government. Like other members of the Republican Party, they think the government's doing too much. They'd like to see a smaller government. But they're more moderate on social issues. So, for example, they're quite a bit more moderate on abortion compared to the rest of the party.
What do we see when we're looking at the Democratic-leaning groups? We see progressive left, establishment liberals in this group. We're also looking at the Democratic mainstays and the outsider left, which is kind of similar to the ambivalent right group.
Yeah, on the Democratic side, we have, as mentioned, we have these four Democratic-oriented groups. As you mentioned, the outsider left is a little bit similar to the ambivalent right. They're young. They're the youngest group. The outsider left is the youngest group. What's very interesting about them is they have liberal views on almost every issue we asked about on the survey, but they're still not crazy about the Democratic Party. They say they don't really feel represented by the party. They say they often struggle to find candidates that represent their views. So while they're not Republicans, the outsider left, they're very cold. We asked what's called a feeling thermometer, where people can rate how warmly or coldly they feel towards Republicans and Democrats. They're very cold towards Republicans, but they're only lukewarm towards Democrats, which is very interesting.
And when we look at the other groups, progressive left, those are likely to side with Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, establishment liberals. I guess they would say they're a little bit more a little bit more moderate, or the Democratic mainstays are more moderate in their leaning. And the establishment liberals, I guess, they're generally upbeat about politics in the country. They agree with, I guess, the Democratic leadership as well.
Yeah, the establishment liberals are the most optimistic about how things are going in the country right now. What was so interesting about this survey, these 10,000 or approximately 10,000 Americans we interviewed, they're members of the Pew Research Center's American Trends panel. So we randomly recruited these people, but they take surveys for us about once or twice a month, and so we can compare. We did this main survey over the summer, but then in September we re-interviewed these people. And in September, the establishment liberals were the group most likely to approve of Joe Biden's performance as president. Other Democratic groups were approving, but they were the highest. And so they are a group that's a little more comfortable with where the leadership is on the party. They're more open to compromise than particularly the progressive left. And what's very interesting, so this is the 8th time the Pew Research Center and the organizations that came before it have done what we call in political psychology. And usually there's only been one group of liberals. This is the first time that we have two groups of liberals. So we have the establishment liberals and the progressive left, and they're both very liberal, but they do tend to have different kind of attitudes, where the establishment liberals are a little more optimistic, the progressive left a little bit less optimistic, want to see bigger changes, want to confront the problems they care about a little more aggressive.
And we're seeing a lot of that play out right now in what's going on with all the debate over the infrastructure bill, the spending plan, the Build Back Better plan. Democrats are pretty divided on a lot of this stuff. We're seeing it play out in real time. We're seeing these different factions kind of present themselves. Okay, so those are the main 8 groups for either the Democratic leaning or the Republican leaning. Who's in the middle? And I love the way you label them the stressed sideliners.
Yeah, this is a very interesting group. They are our least politically engaged group. That's why we're calling them sideliners. They're not totally disengaged from politics, but compared to the other groups, they're much less likely to have voted in 2020. This is another advantage of them coming from our American Trends panel. We have data on a validated turnout, which means we matched them to turnout records, and they were much less likely to vote. They're much less likely to talk about politics kind of growing up, they're just less engaged politically. So that's the sideliners part of the name, and we call them stressed sideliners because this group also stands out for being a bit more likely to come from lower income families, and they're the most likely group to say, when we surveyed them in September, that their finances are either not great or really bad. So these are people that are not politically active, but are very concerned about how the economy is going, more likely to be low income.
You asked this question in the articles that you guys presented. Is there a middle in politics today? And I thought that was the interesting thing, because a lot of people, I bet, are willing to say, I'm an independent, or I'm something like this. I don't want to fit into any of their parties. And going off of these categories that we've presented so far, the ones in the middle are the stressed sideliners, the outsider left, and the ambivalent right. But they just have so little in common politically, which is that interesting dichotomy there.
Yes, it is very interesting in how the data really does reveal that these groups that we call kind of Republican leaning, so the ambivalent right or the outsider left, they lean left, but they lean those directions, but that doesn't mean they're like very close to the other side on a lot of issues.
Right.
Both of these coalitions have a lot that unites them. And a lot of it is just their views towards government. Among the Republican groups, they all want a smaller government. Among the Democratic groups, they think the government should be doing a little bit more. But there are other ways in which they do break away a little bit. And how we define the middle also makes a big difference. Like, as you mentioned, there are these 3 groups that are kind of the most middly, but there are parts of the others that you could also see potentially being peeled away from one side or the other on some issue.
Yeah, it's just a really interesting look into how everybody kind of splits out. You talk about the partisanship, the polarization that's going on, and all of this is evidence of that. Everybody's all over the place, and whether you lean one way or the other, you're not always going to agree with everybody else in your party. So just an interesting look at these 9 different groups now. Baxter Oliphant, Senior Researcher at the Pew Research Center, thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to the Daily Dive Weekend Edition. You can catch a fresh episode of the podcast every morning, Monday through Friday on iHeartRadio. You can also follow us on social media at Daily Dive Pod on both Twitter and Instagram. Stay tuned for the Jesus Christ Show next, but first, into the newsroom. This is KFI AM 640, more stimulating talk.
Life moves pretty fast. If you don't let KFI fill you in once in a while, you could miss it.
KFI.
KOST HD2.
Los Angeles, Orange County.
Live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
Hit by a stray bullet, I'm Layla Muhammad, live from the KFI 24-hour newsroom. A 13-year-old boy has been killed by a stray bullet in Pasadena. Police say there was a shooting last night near a home off North Raymond Avenue, where the boy was apparently playing video games in his bedroom. A bullet went through the window and hit him. The U.S. Coast Guard has found an oil machine near the site of a leak last month near Huntington Beach. The underwater pipeline has been shut down since the leak back on October 2nd. Crews working to repair that pipeline noticed the sheen at 30 feet by 70 feet, but it was no longer visible as of last night. Crews are monitoring the area. LAX has built a bridge.
The nearly $14 million bridge has opened, connecting Terminals 1 and 2, giving passengers the ability to move between terminals without having to leave one and be restrained in another. LA World Airport CEO Justin Urbacci says LAX is working to make all terminals fully connected, so once passengers get through security, they'll be able to move freely throughout the airport. Urbacci says it'll help reduce lines and will provide more options for travelers for eating and shopping and other amenities. LAX expects to complete that plan in late 2023. Amy King, KFI News.
At least 3 people have been hurt at the airport in Atlanta. Those people were hurt while running out of the airport after a gun mistakenly went off yesterday afternoon near a security checkpoint.
People just came flying through and just were like, run, run, run. And then people were just running.
The airport has resumed normal operations. AAA says nearly 54 million Americans will travel over the Thanksgiving holiday.
Roads will be most congested on Wednesday between noon and 8 p.m. Then Sunday after Thanksgiving between 1 and 7 p.m. If you're flying, check in online and arrive early. If your flight is canceled, rebook yourself using the airline's app.
NBC's Tom Costello says more Americans are expected to hit the road this holiday season now that COVID lockdowns are over, but forecasters say travelers in the Midwest and Northeast should expect weather delays. A major winter storm is expected to hit the region Monday through Wednesday, bringing gusty winds, rain, and snow. Disney on Ice is returning to Southern California.
Dream big, take audiences on a great adventure with a new rendition of all of your favorite stories, spanning from Aladdin, The Little Mermaid, Disney's Frozen, and Disney Pixar's Coco.
Disney on Ice Dream Big Tour coordinator Adrian Baez says the show will be in Orange County December 8th to the 12th. Then in LA, December 16th to the 19th, in Ontario, December 22nd to the 27th, and Long Beach, December 30th to January 2nd. From the Southern California Toyota Dealers Traffic Center, we make it easy. A crash on the 5 and 6
It's going to be on the southbound side, right at Lake Hughes Road. Crash there has 2 right lanes blocked. Traffic is slow as you approach. Through Commerce on the 5 northbound of Washington Boulevard, we have a crash there blocking the right lane. And we do have a wreck in Pico Rivera area, 605 southbound of Whittier Boulevard. Crash there blocking the right lane. KFI in the sky helps get you there faster. I'm Jonathan White.
Are you looking for a Medicare Advantage plan that lets you access out-of-network specialists without a referral? With the United Healthcare Medicare Advantage HMO POS plan, you get more of the extras you need with great benefits, like up to $200 yearly to buy over-the-counter products, routine eye exam, and $300 allowance towards eyewear, copays as low as $375 for hearing aids, and much more. With a $0 premium Medicare Advantage plan from United Healthcare, you'll get more care for your Medicare dollar. Take advantage. Call United Healthcare today at 1-877-215-6533, TTY 711, and trust America's #1 health provider to help you find the right plan for you. Call United Healthcare at 1-877-215-6533, TTY 711. That's 1-877-215-6533, TTY 711. Benefits, features, or devices vary by plan and area. Limitations and exclusions apply.
What's all the buzz about nasal irrigation and navage? And should I try it? Here's the science. Airborne germs invade through your nose. It's the body's air filter for trapping allergens and viruses. When your nose gets clogged, it's less effective and germs multiply. Eventually, your immune system can get overwhelmed and you get sick. Nasal irrigation is an effective, all-natural way to clean your nose. It's not a drug, it's more like plumbing. Saline goes in one nostril, around the back of the nose, and out the other nostril, flushing out mucus and germs. I'm Martin Hoke, and I invented Navage to make cleaning your nose easy. It's the world's only nose cleaner with powered suction. Navage pulls out the bad stuff so you can breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and feel healthier. At Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Target, Bed Bath, and Walmart. Or go to Navage.com for a free gift with purchase. Over 2 million sold. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
Hey parents, here's some good news for America's future. Kids ages 5 to 11 are now eligible for a COVID vaccine. That means all those future CEOs and artists, the world-class chefs and the sports stars, the engineers and the innovators, they're all eligible for a vaccine that can help protect their future. And it's specifically formulated just for them. Find vaccines near you at vaccines.gov. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
If you are one of the many parents thinking about homeschooling your students this year, you need to take a look at Acellus Power Homeschool, the homeschool learning accelerator. It keeps parents in control of their children's education by offering online courses right at home, taught by some of America's greatest teachers. Parents are reporting that it is especially effective for struggling students. Check out Acellus Power Homeschool, your affordable homeschool solution. You can learn more at powerhomeschool.org. That's powerhomeschool.org.
Southland weather from KFI, mostly sunny by this afternoon with warmer temperatures today. Highs in the low 80s inland and along the coast, near 70 in the high desert, upper 50s in the mountains right now. It is 52 in Costa Mesa, 66 in Brea, 59 in Glendale, 53 in Manhattan Beach. We lead local live from the KFI 24-hour newsroom. I'm Layla Muhammad.
The following is a pre-recorded program. Over 2,000 years ago, I walked this earth, teaching, healing, inspiring, and preparing to make the ultimate sacrifice. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have eternal life. What if today you and I could talk, voice to voice, and you could ask me anything? You are listening to The Jesus Christ Show. Happy to be with you this Sunday, as I'm with you every single Sunday, right here, answering your questions and talking about the things that truly matter in life, and of course, the afterlife. I'd love to hear from you this morning. If you have a theology question or a life situation question anywhere in the U.S. of A., please call 800-520-1534. That's 800-520-1534. Thanksgiving is next Thursday, but unfortunately, sometimes during trying times, all these things, life continues to do what it does on Earth, regardless of holidays, right? But as Thanksgiving approaches, and you have these things in your life that have caused turmoil or pain or frustration, it can be very difficult to find individual things in your life to be thankful for. But being thankful shouldn't be a state saved for good times alone. If you wait till things are good and going well to only be thankful, you miss a little bit of what God's doing in your life. God calls the believer to be in a continual state of thankfulness. God's sustaining love doesn't change for you, right? In good times or bad. God doesn't say, oh, well, I don't love you anymore. Your relationship may change with God if you're doing things that are harmful to you, or you're living a lifestyle that may be damaging. That may cause issues with your relationship. But God doesn't change how he feels about you in good times or bad. And likewise, your thankfulness should be the same in good times or in bad times. If you look around and you get caught up in just the circumstances in your life, you may not feel like there's much to be thankful for. But I assure you, there are things to be thankful for at every moment in any time of your life. And if you get into that rut, that why me, or woe's me, or look at all the bad things going on in my life, you may miss the picture, the true image that God has for you and the things that he's creating for you in your life. 1 Thessalonians 5:18 says, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. So are you in that place where you can give thanks for everything, not just for what you want or what you enjoy? If you get the attitude like a child, where the child's only happy when they get what they want, when they get exactly the thing they want when they want it, then you're being like that child to God. If you get that mindset, that kicking and screaming or throwing a tantrum in the grocery store or the toy store or whatever it might be, you become that child to God. Your relationship has to be bigger, broader, and more realistic. I remember seeing on one of the home video shows not too long ago, they were showing clips of the holidays, in particular Christmas. They were showing kids receiving gifts, and the parents were sometimes playing jokes on them or doing gag gifts or goofy things. And there were some videos where it was merely them videotaping their holidays, and it would show the kid's reaction to a gift. Now, if you're a parent, you know it's not always easy to guess exactly what kids want or get the right specific one, or maybe they have an eye for a particular color or something or other, and sometimes you're going to get it wrong. Well, in this video, it's exactly what took place. You have this child receiving something slightly different than what they had wanted, but it was quite sweet. This young child opened it up and said, "Oh, this is so great. It's not the exact one that I wanted, but this is so great." And that kind of attitude of, well, it may not be exactly what I want, but what the more important thing is that this shows me that my parents care. Now, God, unlike parents, knows exactly what you need and exactly what you want. And they're not always the same thing. They're not always, the things you want aren't always what's best for you. So God, in his infinite wisdom, will always do what's best for you. And you may not always like it. But being in that state where you learn to be blessed, in the place you are right now, that place you're standing right this moment, not just where you want to be, not that next time, or if I get this, then I'll be happy. No. Being blessed in the place you are right now. Knowing that godly promise that God will never leave you or forsake you. And it's difficult to be thankful all the time. It's difficult to be in that state of thankfulness, and I understand that. But the key, as always, as it is on everything, is to remain focused on God. Putting God first, putting God above all else, is what puts you in that mindset of thankfulness. Is it difficult to always be thankful? Absolutely. It is difficult. But if you're focused on God, you'll see it. You'll be in that thankful moment. Psalm 107, verse 1. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good, for his steadfast love endures forever. Not getting lost in the circumstance and being lost in God is to know that God is steadfast in his love. That the things that God promises will endure forever. During each show here on the Jesus Christ Show, I refer to all the time, and you've heard it over and over, that I refer to the trials in your life as life situations. Now, we say that in the show because they change. Just as circumstances change, I want you to know that if these life situations will change, you must remind yourself that God transcends situations, God transcends something that is going on just in the moment, these situational issues, and that he has a plan for you. And I know when you're in the middle of the pain, when you're in the middle of the frustration, it's hard to remind yourself that. It's hard to remember that God has a plan for you. But he does. And the key to this time of the year, with Thanksgiving just around the corner, is to find that mindset of being thankful always. Not being caught up in the circumstances. The enemy would love for you to be caught up in the minutia, to have the little things in life in your face all the time to where you can't think about anything else. It's just about those things. If you get focused on the little picture, you miss out on everything around you. And there's so much going on, so many things where God is putting blessings in your life or taking away those things that are cursing you. And like the child illustration we talked about earlier, the child may not understand that a particular sugary cereal or candy or something is not always good for them. They'll kick and scream and be frustrated and mad at you as the parent for not allowing them to have it. But ultimately, it's not only what you give that is going to be the blessing to a child, it's what you take away and protect them from. Same way, God in your life. God not only is blessing you by putting things in your life, placing the things that you need when you need them, but God blesses you by the removal of things that are damaging or threatening to you, the things that may pull you down or may have you spiral out of control down a path that's not going to be beneficial for you. And only when you are there in that mindset, only when you sit in the present and understand that God will give you what you need when you need it and take away those things that are not good for you, only in that moment are you truly able to be thankful for all things, not just circumstances and the things going on around you, but for everything. You are listening to the Jesus Christ Show. To ask your question, dial 800-520-1534.
This report is sponsored by Southern California Edison. At Southern California Edison, they're installing insulated power lines and using the latest technology to help keep communities safe from wildfire. Learn more at sce.com/mitigation. Cash offers for used cars have never been higher, and selling your car has never been easier. And it's all because of Roto. That's R-O-D-O. Not only is Roto the best place to buy a new car, but you can also sell your used car or current vehicle lease to Roto for quick payment. Roto makes the process fast, fair, and transparent. So, sell your car on the Roto app or at roto.com. That's R-O-D-O. The fastest way to sell your used car for more cash than ever before.
As parents, we've done everything we can to keep our kids safe, happy, and healthy during this pandemic. From finding the best face masks to making sure their hands are clean. And now we have the best tool to help keep them even safer. The most important thing we can do is vaccinate our kids to protect them against COVID-19. Vaccines have been proven safe and effective for children 5 and up. Talk to your child's doctor or visit myturn.ca.gov to find a vaccine near you. Brought to you by the California Department of Public Health.
At In-N-Out, our hamburgers are made with the highest quality ingredients.
You stole my face, huh?
Made by hand, made with a smile, and made to order just for you.
How do you know if 1-800-NO-CUPS is right for you? I'm attorney